Hello, and welcome to Storytime with One Big Hoax. I'm your host, Trina Hoax. In today's episode, we're going to revisit a case that, for a time, was inescapable. Everywhere you looked, it was there the TV, papers, and in conversation. It held all the makings of a blockbuster scandal a beautiful young intern, a powerful congressman, and a shocking disappearance. But as you'll see, the sensational headlines often obscure a much more complex and tragic reality. This is the story of Chandra Levy. It was the spring of 2001. Chandra Levy was a 24-year-old from Modesto, California, and she was living in Washington, D.C., working as an intern for the Federal Bureau of Prisons. She was a bright, ambitious young woman who had just completed her master's degree at the University of Southern California. She was poised to begin a new chapter of her life back home, but the new chapter would never begin. The last time that anyone knew for sure that Chandra was alive was on May 1st, 2001. She spent the morning on her computer searching for things like Amtrak schedules and weather reports. Her final search was for information about Rock Creek Park. She logged off her computer around 1 p.m. And that was the last digital trace she left. A few days later, on March 6th, her parents, Dr. Robert and Susan Levy, unable to reach her, called the D.C. police to report her missing. A search of her DuPont Circle apartment found no signs of forced entry or foul play. It was, at first, a routine missing persons case, but it wouldn't stay that way for long. The case exploded into the national spotlight when a detail emerged that would change everything. The Levy family revealed to police that Chandra had been having an affair with a U.S. congressman from her home district, GaryCondit. He was a married man, 53 years old, and a senior member of the House Intelligence Committee. The media frenzy was immediate and intense. The narrative of a naive young intern and the powerful politician was irresistible. Condit initially denied a sexual relationship with Levy. His evasiveness and refusal to fully cooperate with the investigation fueled a firestorm of speculation. He became the prime suspect in the court of public opinion, a man seemingly hiding something. He was questioned by police multiple times but never admitted to the affair until a July 2001 interview. He was never charged with any crime in connection with her disappearance. The police eventually cleared him of any wrongdoing or involvement. But the public suspicion and media scrutiny had already taken their toll, and Conduit lost his bid for re-election in 2002. A year passed with no sign of Chandra. The trail seemed to have gone cold, and national media attention began to wane, especially after the September 11th attacks. But on May 22nd, 2002, a man walking his dog in Rock Creek Park made a horrifying discovery. Near Broad Branch Creek, in a heavily wooded steep ravine, he found a human skull and bones. The remains were positively identified through dental records. They belonged to Chandra Levy. Found nearby were personal items including her sports bra, sweatshirt, leggings, and a Sony Walkman. The discovery was a tragedy, but it also brought a new layer of frustration. Police had searched parts of Rock Creek Park before, but somehow they had missed the specific area where her body was found. The fact that her remains had been exposed to the elements for a year meant that crucial forensic evidence was most likely lost forever. The cause of death couldn't be definitely determined, though a forensic anthropologist noted damage to her hyoid bone, suggesting that she may have been strangled. With the conduit angle now at a dead end and a lack of physical evidence, the case entered a new phase, a long, cold slog. But in 2006, new information came to light. A man named Igmar Guandique, an undocumented immigrant from El Salvador, was already in prison for a series of attacks on female joggers in Rock Creek Park. His crimes were eerily similar to what investigators now believed had happened to Chandra. In a stunning development, a cellmate of Guandique's came forward, claiming that Guandique had confessed to him that he attacked and killed Chandra. He had allegedly grabbed her by the neck and dragged her off the trail. This new testimony, along with evidence of Guadalupe's predatory behavior in the park around the same time as Chandra's disappearance, led to his arrest in 2009. In November of 2010, Guandique was convicted of first-degree felony murder in the death of Chandra Levy. He was sentenced to 60 years in prison. For a time, it seemed the case was finally closed. But this is a case where the final chapter has been anything but simple. In 2015, Guandique's conviction was overturned. The key witness against him, the cellmate, had provided inconsistent and allegedly false testimony. It came to light that the prosecutors had failed to disclose information that would have undermined the witness's credibility. Faced with the challenge of a new trial and a now compromised key witness, prosecutors made a difficult decision. In July 2016, they dropped the charges against Ingmar Guandique. He was never retried. Instead, he was deported to his native El Salvador in 2017. The murder of Chandra Levy, which had been considered solved, was now officially unsolved once more. The Levy family was now back to where they started, with no justice for their daughter. The case stands as a powerful and tragic example of how a media firestorm can derail an investigation and how a conviction can be built on shaky ground. The mystery of who killed Chandra Levy remains a haunting question mark in the annals of an American true crime. Was it Guandique? Was it someone else entirely, like a shadow who was never even considered? We may never know. The story of Chandra Levy is a stark reminder of how a sensational media narrative can derail an investigation and how a lack of physical evidence can be an insurmountable obstacle. She was a young woman with a future full of promise, and her life was tragically cut short. While we may never know the full truth of what happened in Rock Creek Park that day, Chandra Levy's name remains a powerful symbol of a case that captivated the nation and left behind more questions than answers. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Storytime with One Big Hoax. I hope you'll join me again soon for another episode. Thank you.